Welcome to the world of big money. An uncharted world of mighty institutions that exert a huge influence on our daily lives. For 2 years, I explored this world, at first without any expertise, armed only with curiosity and wonder. To avoid getting lost in all the complexity, I asked guides to show me around. We traveled to the farthest reaches of the financial system and to back rooms in the tops of the highest towers. Based on what I saw and heard, I mapped the world of money. My name is Caroline Kingma, and I make maps of society. This one, Tracing the Flow of Money, was created with financial journalist Thomas Bollen and money researcher Martijn Jeroen van der Linden. In it, we walk you through a cityscape where money is in motion, its hidden power made manifest. When you look up from where we're standing, at the financial sector in the distance, you only see the surface, the glimmering glass of tall towers, with slogans about creating a better world. Behind this facade lies a world of private equity, hedge fund managers, and investment bankers. From their meeting rooms high in the sky, they look out over society. Of the 50 biggest and most powerful companies on Earth, nearly half are financial institutions. But what exactly do they do? You hear about them in the news sometimes, where the jargon and buzzwords are enough to make your head spin. Credit default swaps, special purpose vehicles, share buybacks, asset purchase programs, and then there are the dizzying quantities that surpass anything we can truly visualize. 10 billion euros, 100 billion pounds, $1 trillion. Down here, the financial system seems abstract, far removed from the rest of society. In reality, the financial sector and society are closely connected. The sector provides and manages the money that keeps our economy running. Money on this map is depicted as water. The ancient Egyptians and Greek philosophers saw water as the source of life, the origin of everything. Today, one could argue that role is reserved for money. Just as water makes crops grow, money fuels the economy. That process starts at the top of the tower, where big corporations keep their money reservoirs. Open the floodgates, and the money flows downstream, setting the wheels of industry in motion. Salaries make their way through the waterworks and trickle down into employee piggy banks. In return, everyone goes to work. The managers devise a production plan. Workers in cubicles turn the plan into real-world logistics. A warehouse gets stocked. Order pickers fetch goods. And the store ships packages that same day. Money eventually seeps down to the lowest ranks of society, where the conveyor belt's always running, where the products are assembled and raw materials mined. People then spend the wages they've earned, often in these same shops and businesses. Sales revenue gets pumped back up to the reservoirs at the top. And the cycle starts all over again. The waterworks keeps our economy going and provides for our needs. Money makes the world go round. At least, that's the idea. Let's take a closer look at our world. More than 1.5 billion people, that's 1 in 5, live in poverty. At the foot of the tower, we see people in slums or tent cities who make do with mere dollars a day. That's not enough for healthcare, school, or even a hot meal. Here is where the hardest labor gets done, often under appalling conditions. The paltry pay that drips down won't secure even the most basic level of a dignified existence. Just above the poverty line, things aren't much easier. Here, wages lag behind the cost of living. At the end of the month, there's nothing left. The truism that hard work holds the key to getting ahead is, for many people, just a poster on the wall or a feel-good movie on TV. Now, follow the rent and business revenue as it's pumped back up the system. You'll all come out at the personal reservoirs of landlords and business owners, most of whom live high in the tower. They're part of the 10% of the world's people who own over 75% of the world's wealth. This is where people are swimming in money, where bottles of champagne are popped open to toast the success of the trickle-down economy. The champagne tower is filled from above. Each glass bubbles over, filling the glasses below it. Yet, deep in the tower of society, we don't see much actually trickle down. The glasses there remain empty, while the reservoirs at the top of the tower grow bigger and fuller. To understand how, we need to know a little about shareholder capitalism. The wealthy invest the lion's share of their capital in real estate and stocks. If you buy stock in a company, then you're entitled to a share of company profits. You also profit if the price of a share has gone up by the time you sell yours. As a shareholder, you're welcome to attend the annual shareholder meeting. You have a say in how the company is run. After all, shareholders vote on company plans. That often means deciding what pot of money to tap into. Should we raise salaries, invest in R&D and future-proofing the factory, or pay out profits to shareholders? Over the past 40 years, shareholders increasingly chose this final option, paying themselves. A higher percentage of company profits flowed into the basins of shareholders. Never before did firms pay shareholders as much in dividends as in 2021, some $1.5 trillion. That's like the entire economy of Mexico or Australia. Wages, meanwhile, have lagged behind for decades, except at the top. In 2021, top executives at the world's biggest companies drew salaries that were, on average, 250 times what their median employee earned. But is a CEO's added value for society truly comparable to that of 250 bakers, teachers, or nurses? Poverty doesn't mean there's not enough money to go around. It means money's not distributed equitably, but piles up at the top. The growing dividend pot plays a key role here. But shareholders aren't the only ones causing the financial dry spell at the bottom. This is where the financial sector comes into the picture again. It was set up to operate the waterworks on behalf of the economy. Here, you see the institutions that construct canals, maintain water pressure, and control access to the source. Let's take a brief look. At the top left, we see the commercial bank. Here you can store your money or ask for a loan. The bank takes care of payment transactions and is largely responsible for putting money into circulation. On the top right, you see the central bank, or Federal Reserve, the guardian of the waterworks. This government institution oversees the commercial banks and maintains water pressure by raising or lowering interest rates, or by opening the floodgates for the banks. Below, you can see the government, designer of the waterworks. How we set up our money system, after all, is no natural phenomenon. The design is based on our ideas of what's fair and just, and can be determined, in theory, through the democratic process. At the lower right, we see the tax authority. This government institution collects taxes and, ideally, corrects for excesses in the tower so that the broadest shoulders bear the heaviest burden. Tax income fills the public coffers, which the government then uses to finance infrastructure, defense, healthcare, and public education. On the lower left, you see the big pension or retirement funds. That's where employees set aside part of their paycheck each month to save for retirement. A network of pipelines and channels, largely obscured from view, runs through all these institutions, connecting them to one another and to wider society. In the last 40 years, the financial sector has grown faster than the economy itself, 2.5 times as fast. That means more money flowing through the pipelines of financial institutions than ever before. But most of it never reaches the everyday economy, where we're producing things and providing services. So why is all that money being pumped around? It starts with the commercial bank, the gateway to money. At the bank, we can ask for a loan. Take Carter, that young man there in the plaid shirt. He wants to buy a house and applies for a mortgage, a form of credit. The word credit comes from the Latin credere, which means to trust. Whether the bank trusts Carter to pay back his loan on time depends on many things. Where he's from, how much he makes, whether he has assets or student loans, and whether he can count on his parents for help. The more favorable his financial situation, the more Carter can borrow and the better the terms of his mortgage will be. By signing a mortgage contract, Carter is promising to pay back the loan plus interest. The bank adds the contract to its own assets and deposits new money in Carter's account. This is called money creation. The bank gains an asset it can keep or sell, and Carter gains fresh funds to put towards his house. More than 90% of money moving through the economy today comes from this source. It's created by a commercial bank, and not, as you might think, by the government or central bank. And so the banks are entrusted with this key role in society. It's the banks that determine when to open the floodgates of our economy, deciding who the money flows to and for what purpose. Up to half of all bank loans go towards the housing market. All this new money doesn't do a thing to increase productivity or boost economic growth. Mostly, it raises prices on existing homes. Buying a home in 2021 cost between 3 to 4 times as much as it did 25 years before. Homeowners benefit from these higher prices. Sole earners without the support of wealthy parents, on the other hand, are often stuck renting and may pay more each month than those with mortgages. And unlike homeowners, renters aren't building equity. Credit isn't extended to all businesses in the same way, which results in unequal opportunities for development and success. Small businesses pay higher interest rates, in recent years around 6 to 10% annually, while multinationals are charged far less. In the run-up to 2022, they've paid interest rates of less than 1 or 2% a year. Most banks are commercial, profit-driven enterprises. Loans to big companies can prove appealing, as the bank stands to earn more than on a small business loan. Multinationals sometimes borrow billions at a time. Even at a low interest rate, the bank still collects a hefty fee on such deals. What about the fact that Shell and ExxonMobil then go on to use these enormous loans for things that destroy the environment? Or that Amazon and Louis Vuitton go on to further squeeze their employees? That's seldom a deal breaker. A bank's decision to let the money flow is primarily based on a loan's financial merits. The wider social impact is only marginally considered, if at all. The supply of money at the top of the tower flows in a loop. The steady stream of debt. Private bankers loan massive sums of money from this loop to multinationals and the super rich. Perhaps you've wondered why billionaires like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk would borrow money to buy a yacht, build a rocket, or take over Twitter. The answer is simple. To make purchases like those, you could sell some of your shares, but then you'd owe taxes on any profits you made, any capital gains. You can avoid those taxes by paying with borrowed funds. You don't sell your shares, you use them as collateral. Or you take out a yacht-backed loan, a loan with the yacht itself as collateral. That way, you can keep racking up profits while sailing around the world. Thanks to a steady stream of debt, Bezos and Musk hand over only a fraction of what regular folks pay in taxes. For these loans too, ecological and social concerns clearly play little role in the bank's revenue model. The carbon footprint for operating one super yacht is equivalent to some 1,500 cars. But that's not all. People with lots of money put most of it toward making more money, preferably without having to work for it. That's called being a person of independent means, financially independent from an employer or boss, and living off passive income. You can reach this status by buying up houses and renting them out, for instance, or by investing in the stock market. That's symbolized here by a second loop, the lazy river of investment, a man-made waterway that flows perpetually in a loop. From the basins of big business and the rich, money flows into the financial markets, far from the everyday economy, and from there right back to those at the top. Anyone with money to spare can try their luck on the stock market. Just as in a casino, there are winners and losers. Those who get in when the markets are low, then manage to ride the wave up and get out again in time, when the markets are booming, emerge as winners. Others, who only recently bought shares, might stay in, hoping for even higher highs. Aim for the moon and shoot for the stars. If the markets fall, then newcomers may see their investment vanish. You can also hire a professional to invest on your behalf. The field of asset management, including private equity firms, hedge funds, and other financial services, has bloomed in recent years. Here, we see these professionals scooping water out of their clients' basins and sending it along the lazy river to the playing field at the back. The supply of money from thousands and thousands of clients pushes the price of stocks, bonds, and all kinds of other complex financial products to great heights. Sometimes it seems you can't lose in this casino. The euphoria works like a flywheel. In response to rising security markets, bankers open more floodgates, and with the borrowed money, more people try their luck on the stock market. As long as the money keeps flowing, everyone involved gets richer. Speculators book huge gains. The bank earns interest on the borrowed money, and asset managers skim billions off the top every year for their services. The lazy river grows wider. But the gap between the rich and the rest, the people who don't own stocks or other assets, also grows. Money from the lazy river doesn't flow into the everyday economy. It almost seems like the lazy river is self-contained, but it's powered by the tower of our society, because making your money work for you is just another way to say profiting off the work of others. One person's passive yield is another's active labor. Profits with which big business rewards its shareholders ensue from the industry of other people and what they produce. The steady stream of debt also rests on the tower of our society. Banks can count on financing their own needs with people's personal savings, even without paying out interest. For years, rates hovered around 0%. Society doesn't share in the benefits when times are good, but it bears the risks when things go south. Once the mood in the casino shifts, the bubble of inflated share prices bursts, and players rush to pump as much money as they can back into their own reservoirs. The lazy river runs dry, and society pays the price for the crisis. Banks are bailed out using public money, and other financial service providers can appeal to the central bank for the cash injections they need to survive. What do we water and what goes dry? Choices made by the financial sector determine what grows and what dies off. That's where banks, pension funds, asset management, and insurance firms can make a difference, said Sigrid Kaag, the Dutch finance minister, in June 2022. That may well be the case, but she neglected to mention the most important group: politicians. Politicians determine much of how the waterworks are set up, but don't seem eager to claim that role. Time and again, public funds are expected to bolster the current system, including the wealth at the top of the tower. And while we may see minor tweaks here and there, true systemic reform never happens. Looks like the everyday economy is there to serve the financial sector instead of the other way around. Many people, including many in finance, believe that has to change. They want to make a difference, but see initiatives stall in the face of a complex system and the single-minded motives of shareholders. Placing social impact above financial returns is virtually impossible within today's system. For that to happen, politicians will have to act. After all, how the waterworks functions is ultimately a political choice. Ever-growing inequality, an economy that's out of sync with the planet, it's all inextricably tied up with our financial system. That's why it's crucial that we understand big money better. This tour was a first look. In the months to come, we'll take you through other parts of this fascinating world. What causes inflation? How do shadow banks work? What happens to the money in our pensions or IRAs? And how do we educate the economists of tomorrow? We'll journey past countless plans and ideas for organizing the waterworks of money in a new way, so society gets a financial sector that better serves us all.